Great. I'm the chair, Mark McCormick. I would like to start off with a roll call. Um, Commissioner New,
Present.
Commissioner Trent Davis,
Present.
new Commissioner Angelin Johnson. Are you with us? Oh, I just saw her,
We,
so I think she is.
yeah, we know she's
Commissioner
there.
Penn.
She's
We're just doing a roll call, Commissioner Penn.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay, I can hear you now, but
Okay.
since we can see you.
Yeah, I got a new phone. It works.
Okay. Um, following the agenda, we're at the point now for public comment. Is there a public comment?
Well, I just want to introduce, I just emailed our executive director in regards to a constituent who had some interest in just coming in today just to checking out our organization here. This is Miss Regina Miller with the Trailblazers Academy. Hey, there she is, her pretty face. I just have her here today. She's out here in Wichita. She owns the Trailblazers Academy, and she's also a board member of the trustees on Friends University. So we just want to welcome her today.
Hi there.
hi.
Uh,
Welcome. Did you have a comment for us, or were you just observing today?
I'm just observing.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. I guess we can move to the executive director's update.
Okay, hello, this is Stacy, now the executive director. The first order of business is that we do have a new commissioner. Unfortunately, she's traveling and she's in an airport right now. And oh wait, someone's in the waiting room. Here we go. Here comes Commissioner Westbrook. So I was going to take this opportunity. Hey, there she is. Hi, to introduce our new commissioner, Angelin Johnson. She is out of Congressional District 4. She lives in the Wichita area. And so, Angela, if you wanted to take a second to introduce yourself, and welcome to the commission.
so she can't see us.
I know she was talking through her phone at one point. Well,
Yeah.
we know she's there. We've seen,
I think she's muted.
and she appears to be frozen on my
It
screen.
appears to be frozen as well.
Okay, well, we do have a new commissioner, Angelin Johnson. She lives in the Wichita area. Some of us recognize her. She actually helped us with our strategic planning back in 2021. And so, yes, and she had a consulting agency. She moved away from Wichita for a couple of hot months, just a few minutes, but loved it so much that she came back. And so I know she's back in the Wichita area. And yes, she is replacing Commissioner McRoy, who has gone on to bigger and better things. And we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. So, Angela, if you want to try saying something again.
Can you all hear me
Maybe
now?
we should just come back to her when her call
And
is
can
over.
you see me as well?
Yes.
Okay, technology, love it or not.
That's
Okay,
right.
well, hello, everyone. It is nice to see some familiar faces. As Stacey has shared, I'm Angelin Johnson, and I'm excited to be able to join you all in this capacity to advance the work for our constituents in Kansas. Looking forward to moving the work forward. Looking forward to being brought back up to speed also on the work that has gone forward since I was last engaged with you all. If you have any questions for me, you can let me know. But other than that, I'm looking forward to joining my first meeting as a fellow commissioner with you all.
Well, this is the chair. I'd like to welcome you to the board. I do remember well you leading us through some strategic planning. I was impressed in, and I think that your addition to our commission will be a wonderful addition. I predict great things.
Thank you.
But I'll return the floor to our executive director.
Okay, the second point is that we remember as per our new bylaws, and this is something that's new, so I am fully full of grace on this point, but that we are asked to do a end of quarter report of some sort of summing up our activities. Of course, Angelin, this is the first time you're really hearing about this, so I don't expect anything out of you. But for the next quarter, to do a summary of activities, the things that you've done with your CAC hat on. I know a great many of us on this screen are involved in a lot of different things, but if there's anything that you do where you show up in your capacity as a commissioner for CAC to sort of compile that information. I have Mark McCormick's and Crystal's, Dr. Crystal Davis's, so I'm waiting on everyone else's. But again, this is the first time that we've done this. So much grace. And I will compile them essentially into quarters. I have been messing around with what this eventually will look like in terms of what will our report look like. And let me see if I can share my screen. And this is purely by way of push share, Stacy. Okay. Do you see like a Canva thing?
Mhm.
Okay. So this is just me completely just rough drafting it out. But I know this potentially might be a larger project than what I'm giving myself credit for. So I'm not going to wait till November to get this thing completely pulled together. So maybe it'll be a word from our chair. Who knows? But that's going to come up later. Then a little brief history of the commission, what our governing documents are, any events that the commission takes on, and then our reports, right? So I will. My plan right now is to maybe put a brief bio of all the commissioner, and then what you did at first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. Right now, there's nothing in here. If you read it, it's our bylaws are how we're appointed, but just this idea for layout, for the sake of layout. And then another picture, Crystal Davis, another picture, Trent Davis, so that everyone will sort of have their own section of their reports, and they'll just be, done from, and I've just taken everyone's picture from the website and the bio from the website. So that's also a point I have later. Make sure you update your bios if there's anything new that you want me to say in your bio or different that you want me to say in your bio. And then Westbrook. Then there will be a point where the monthly expenditures, a page for, social media. If I can figure out how to get this to be a map of Kansas and where we had brunches, that would be fantastic. But believe it or not, AI doesn't know what Kansas looks like. So I don't know what to tell you.
So I didn't realize that we've been to Kenya.
Yeah, we have been everywhere. Look at that, 8 million times. Okay, this is just the briefest draft of drafts. Just so when you are sending me information to have an idea of what the end goal of what this may look like, it's going to be something along these lines. Again, right now, this is just me copying and pasting from earlier stuff, but it'll be quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, whatever you send me. So this is a point. Whatever you send me, I am just going to copy and paste in, right? So if you send me bullet points, I'm going to copy and paste in bullet points. I'm not going to turn your bullet points into sentences. If you would rather your bullet points be sentences, you'll need to write sentences. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna necessarily edit what you give me unless I run it through spell check. I may run it through Grammarly just to make sure that the commas are in the right spot, but I'm not gonna change your words, if that makes any sense. So whatever you send me is just going to be pasted in. And obviously this may change the way it looks over the course of the year. Okay, I see Dr. New has her hand up.
Yes, ma'am. And I think this is the year I cycle off, and I didn't see myself included there. So I do have my first quarter, but I didn't know if we were reporting out today. So should I send it?
I didn't. Okay, and that's a very good point. And again, these are one of these things. Let me take this stop share so I can see everyone. Because this is the first time that we have done this, and because this is the first time that we have officially done this, I think we are much grace and much discussion. How should this look? Is this something that we do a share out like Dr. New was talking about? Or is it just you just type stuff up and you send it to me and I go through the year and I just copy paste that bad boy together and I get the formatting to look right? like how I've never done this before. We have never done this before. So I am all about the discussion points of what should this look like. I'm all ears. Yes, Angela Johnson.
So I definitely have a suggestion for there being consistency with how each commissioner reports. You gave the opportunity for if you want to send bullet points, send bullet points. If you want to send narratives, send narratives. But I think for the sake of a report, the consistency of a similar approach would be most appropriate. And then even to what Commissioner New was sharing with her cycling or having done work that would be a part of this report, is maybe not breaking it down by quarters, but having it be more of a cumulative narrative summary maybe of what each commissioner did. Might be an approach to help ensure more uniformity and consistency. So those are my initial thoughts.
So I have a clarifying question. Do you mean a cumulative summary of the quarter or cumulative summary of the year?
I was saying a cumulative summary of the year, which would be inclusive of each quarter, but there may be a reason for distinguishing out each quarter and drawing out quarter or benefits doing that. But I was recommending a full year summation inclusive of all quarters versus breaking it down by each quarter, unless there's a reason to really break it down by each quarter.
Well, this is the chair. My understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Executive Director Nell, that the quarterly breakdown is just a means to collect the information. It won't necessarily reflect how it's presented at the end of the year. Is that right, Executive Director Nell?
This is Director Nell. I think that's the discussion right now.
Okay.
Since this is the first year that we've done this, it was, I can even admit it was somewhat arbitrary to say quarterly report. I just know how my brain operates, that if I say this is a yearly report, approximately November 15th, I will be in full panic mode trying to remember what I did in February. And so if we have a quarterly report, then that ups the chance that I can sort of keep it going and, just keep it going, keep some sort of running tally, that I'm not panicked to come up with a year's worth of work. It was arbitrary. So if we decide that we want to change that, now that will necessitate a change to the bylaws, which we know how to do that. I just type everything up, submit it 10 days ahead of the next meeting. We vote on it, and changing the bylaws is not difficult, but it would necessitate a change in bylaws. Since we are now officially operating under these new bylaws, I think that also is not surprising that we're sort of finding the bugs here and there that we may need to massage here and there and say, well, okay, this needs to be adjusted or this needs to be adjusted. I think that's probably reasonable.
This is the chair again, and I had a question. Will there be an electronic version as well as a print version? Or will this just be located on our website? Because I was making reference in my report to things that I'd had published relative to what I'd been doing in the community. And if there was a digital report, we could have hyperlinks leading to those. I was just wondering about that.
I think it's probably going to be both.
Okay.
I think primarily, I'm sorry, this is Director Nell. I think primarily this is going to be a digital thing that will be uploaded and put to the website. But I will most likely print out a couple, if for no better reason to give one to the governor and to have one. I most likely will print out a couple, but I think I envision this primarily as a digital document. So I don't. And we may need to put that in bylaws. I don't know.
Director Nell, going back to what Chair McCormick asked, at least for me as I'm hearing it, I heard two different things. I thought he was asking, as far as this final report, that's going to be a cumulative of the entire year, but I thought I also heard the reporting cadence, which is different to me. So I think each quarter we're reporting, but again, when it comes to that final document for the final annual report, that doesn't have to be broken down into a quarterly summary, but could be the full year as far as the formatting. Going back to the previous point we were making about the formatting of how that information is communicated in that final report. So I don't think it will warrant a change in bylaws. I don't think we're saying anything different as far as the bylaws for the cadence of the reporting for each commissioner, but just at that final point when the report's generated, it would be an annual summary versus a quarterly breakdown. So at least that's why I thought I was hearing two different things, and I just wanted to make that clarification or ask for that clarification.
Okay, so let me, this is Director Nell, let me repeat back to you what you've said. I'm using all my active listening skills. So you're saying that for the final annual report, the pretty version annual report, that it would be in a summary, full year summary. Each commissioner would be responsible for a full year summary type of document, which will be sent to me and I will copy paste in. However, that there would still be this quarterly reporting cycle cadence that would still be maintained because that's what's in the bylaws. But those quarterly reports may not be the quarterly reports are not necessarily what is going to be put into that document because they're bullet points or their height or their. Is that what you were saying?
I think we are saying something different. So what you had initially shared is that you were going to take the quarterly reports and then copy paste it into the final report as the final document. What I'm saying is that we would still submit quarterly reports, but just instead of you taking a copy paste approach and breaking it down per quarter, it would be put into an annual summary when you would take that information that's already been reported quarterly and just create it as an annual summary for the actual end of year report for the consistency's sake. Because some may submit bullet point items each quarter. Some may do a narrative as Chair McCormick shared. Something he's going to have some more narrative highlighting some of his written pieces. So you're going to get different styles of how commissioners will submit information. What I'm saying is that you get that on a quarterly cadence. When you prepare that final report, it would be in a narrative form versus some might do bullets, some may do narrative. That was the distinction I was making, which wouldn't require a change in the bylaws because everybody's still actually submitting to you on a quarterly cadence their activities. Just that final report to the public would be a narrative summary of all of those.
Okay. I'll let Dr. Davis has a question, but then I have a sort of a follow-up question to that.
Excuse me, Commissioner Trent Davis. I guess my understanding was that the quarterly reports were more to keep us from having to scramble at the end of the year to come up with everything we had done, just submit it as we go. And I looked at the annual report as a more flowing narrative summary that might not really need to include all the details of everything we did, but it's more reflective of the commission as a single body. What did we do? Because if you're going to submit that to legislatures and the governor, I doubt that they're going to want to sit there and read everything that each one of us has done. It's kind of like, tell me in a page or two what your commission has done over the past year. So I would expect you and the chair probably to have, editorial privilege to summarize what we had submitted on a quarterly basis in that.
Oh, this is the chair. I'd like to weigh in. I'm not sure that I would necessarily feel comfortable editing or doing write-throughs on these reports without the input of the commissioner involved. I'd be worried about omitting information that you thought was critical or adding information out of a misunderstanding. What I have told people for years is that I am a recovering journalist. And one of the things that I experienced and what many journalists experience is that in the editing process, unless the editor is very careful, he can insert errors into the copy. So unless that particular commissioner was involved in the editing process or the write-through, I would tend to lean toward leaving the copy as is, unless there was a request from the commissioner, for that kind of editing and that kind of write-through.
Yeah, this is the director. I agree, mainly because my background is not as a journalist, right? My background, I'm a math teacher by trade, right? So I would be very reticent to take on editing any of your guys' words. Mainly because I don't have the skill set with which to do it. I am okay if you wanted to write your own narrative, and then the whole year summary, and then I will copy paste. Or if Mark McCormick is still around and is willing to work with you on editorial things, or we don't have a lot of money to go hire someone to write this report for us. I mean, I think there are people who write reports. That is what they do. Because if KDHE is putting out a report, they've hired someone to get that bad boy put together. So we could look into, like, we have a budget committee now. Do we look into hiring someone to write the final report? In which case, you guys can just whatever format you want to give it to us, we give it over to the person who writes reports, and they write the report. I mean, that's an option. We don't particularly have a lot of money for that. I don't actually know how much that costs. So that's something that the budget committee can take up.
This is the chair. It's typically somewhere between 5 cents and 8 cents per word.
Ooh, okay. Well, there you go. So again, this is Director Nell. This is our first time. This is our first time doing it. We're learning as we go. So I think there's no wrong answer. We just need to figure out what works best for everyone involved.
This is the chair. One more time. I wouldn't want to leave this subject without expressing some sympathy for what our new commissioner said. I think when you put out a report, uniformity is very important, and it does give it a kind of professional sheen. So I tend to agree with her, but I do think that's pretty work intensive, pretty labor intensive, and it may require resources that we don't have or won't have. But I just wanted her to know that I appreciate that point, that when you put out a report, you do want it to be uniform. And I was even thinking about maybe taking new photographs so all the photographs looked uniform in the final report. So I just wanted to say I appreciate that point.
Okay. Commissioner, that's a follow-up question then. What is that me? What is the state looking for in an annual report from a commission? Is it a summary of everything we've done, or generally what we as a group, as a body, have done, interacting with the state, the governor, or constituents? I don't know if I'm assuming other commissions have been doing these. In fact, we've probably done it ourselves in the past. The quarterly information will still be there. It can always be attached as an addendum to a summary, like an executive summary report. But depending on who the intended reader is, it should probably, I would think, be geared towards that person's purposes and needs.
Right. That's an excellent question. This is Director Nell. The other they refer to us as the external commissions, the Hispanic Latino American Affairs Commission, the Disabilities Commission. They don't have reporting requirements, which is why we have not heretofore regularly done reporting, because there is no reporting requirements. CAC has put out annual reports in the past. Crystal Davis, did I send that out with her proposal? The 2020, 2013. And that was the one. I thought I had seen the one that was published in the Community Voice newspaper, a State of Kansas report. But I think what I sent you from 2013 was this State of the Black Kansas report that everyone has referred to, that Mildred Edwards did in the past. I find that report extremely interesting. One, she had at least 2 people who were on staff and 2 people who were helping her compile. And most of the report are stats. The first several pages of the reports are just stats. They're just tables of stats, tables of stats. All of the information can be found online. And then it's a series of articles. It's like 21 articles written by various people, many of whom I even know to this day, none of which are written by the commission. So it's one of these things. I've often said that I think this commission has operated for a while as the Kansas African American Affairs Executive Director, and I'm working very hard to make this the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. So it's brilliant. If you read it, I mean, it's great and it's glossy and it's sunshiny. And to me, it does not have the thumbprint of the commission on it. I don't see the commission in that. So I would I don't have staff. She had 2 people working with her, 2 researchers to help compile. And then I don't know if she paid the people who submitted those articles. That my guess is that she probably had to go get a grant, and she might have paid the people who submitted those articles. I mean, I could track down Mildred. I've met her several times before and ask her if they paid those people to submit those articles. But I don't necessarily know if we need to follow that template. I'm not sure. Now, but if the commission wants to follow that template, we'll do it. We'll figure out. I'll ask her, did she pay all the people who wrote those articles? And we can go that route.
This is the chair. I think it's important to delineate the kind of report that Dr. Edwards did versus the kind of report we're putting together. The one we're putting together for this year is more a record of what we've been doing in our respective communities with our respective constituents. That particular report had a kind of narrative base that resembled the Urban League's annual State of Black America. And I was familiar with a lot of the people who had been writing. In fact, one of the doctors was my son's asthma doctor. His daughter also was in that report, reporting as well as my board chair at the African American Museum, Dr. Weems, who had some really important information, related to the Black economy being somewhere around $1 trillion. And yet we don't have the requisite business and entrepreneurship infrastructure that we could have since we have $1 trillion worth of spending power. So to reiterate what our executive director just said, what we're doing this year is very different than that other report. But it does appear that she's open to a kind of report that had a narrative focus like the State of Black Kansas / the State of Black America.
Commissioner Penn has her hand up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is Commissioner Penn. I know we had this discussion before, just talking about the annual reports that happened to the past executive directors. I know the former executive director, Kenya Cox, she had one, and I was given one by the former commissioner, Joseph Elmore. I can't remember what year that was. That's probably the most recent one outside of Miss Mildred. I can't remember what year it was, but she had something.
2017.
Was it 2017? Okay. I couldn't remember if it was 2017 or 2019. Now, how did hers look? Because she had a printed copy, is that right?
Yes.
And she did have a budget then, if I'm not mistaken, to hand it out, but we can do things digitally. We don't necessarily need to hand it out.
I know. And this thing is there page
Was that done in
numbers?
the same kind of fashion?
It's not, there's not page numbers. Yeah. Honestly, the first time I saw this, I thought, who paid for that? Because this bad boy is several pages long, full color. And it is a lot. It's lots and lots of pictures. There is an occasional graph with information. That is the diversity of the bench, the Black judges. There's occasional graphs, but if you can tell, these graphs are sat on top of each other, so you can't even read whatever this information is on the background. So it's and it's not clear, like the font didn't transfer clearly. It's hard to read. So I think this is primarily, it's lots of pictures. Like this is from Literacy Day at the Capitol. It's lots of pictures. It's not necessarily, in terms of information. So here's when it gets down to information, again, it's graphs, right? This is the U.S. unemployment rates, and it's graphs. And this report does have, oh, I guess it's just that one page of graphs.
Yeah, this
Here's
is
some more.
I mean,
There are some graphs. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have spent some time. I think, okay, let me finish the sentence. Part of the reason why I think we can potentially change the format of how our report looks, and I'd have to keep an eye on the time, is because I have heard the outcry of the people, right, who have said, where is this new State of Black Kansas? On our website, there is a State of Black Kansas tab where I have effectively, it's all these graphs that are printed out for different things are many of some things are available on websites. So by linking them on our website, linking out to the website where it is, then this website is responsible for updating the information. It's no longer whoever's at CAC's responsibility for updating information, because the information that's in this book is now, it's not useful, right? It's a frozen thing. It's no longer current documents, current information. But I have gone through, and these all link to, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And it's like, these are by multiple years of race and ethnicity, affirmative action reports. So I've been slowly steady trying to flesh out this page, trying to get links to things that would give people, if they're just purely interested in Kansas Division of Public Health records, right? This page has links to Kansas local, state, and county level data, as well as specific data on child and maternal health. So I've been trying to sort of do this digitally, DCF, front-end assessment, summary of administration of children findings, digitally, so that it links out to someplace else that is responsible for keeping update current information. So to a certain extent, just the pure data question of what's going on with the state of Black Kansas can fully be handled digitally, I think, is probably even the preferred way of handling it, because those numbers would change yearly.
Yeah, this is the chair. I think that's a very clever way at an efficiency and making sure that information is timely. The report that Dr. Edwards did was incredibly data rich. And this is a good way, I think, of steering people toward the information. I mean, in the past, we have not had a central place where you could go and find all that information. What the executive director, I think, has done in this case is very clever. People can come to our website and be led to the kind of information that they might be seeking.
Director Neal, what is the time frame? Is this a calendar year 2025, or is it from certain months? What's the time frame of this report going to cover exactly?
Calendar year. This is a director. Let me, because I fear we may run out of time. Let me at least. Okay, the first quarter reports, I think we're still in discussion. Please, commissioners, at least bullet point it out. That way you're not suddenly at the end of November, like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I still think no matter what the final report looks like in terms of, is it narrative, is it bullet pointed? I think for the sake of keeping us on track, even if you want to send me bullet points, that way at least we know that we're on track. So let's maybe we can leave that as it is right now, because nothing's being published right now. It's just being collected. I do want to mention, back to the agenda, Kansas 250 Commission. The Kansas 250 Commission is a commission that is responsible for Kansas's portion of the semi-quintennial of America, the 250th anniversary celebration birthday of America. CAC has a statutory seat, so it's either the executive director of CAC or their appointee. I have been attending these meetings, but now we're getting to the point, because first it was just getting things set up and just getting bylaws. It's a lot of just procedural stuff. We're now to the point where it would be very helpful if the person who has this position on this commission is who can say, hey, and a lot of these things I do know, but I'm also trying to find someone to replace me on this. You know, like I know TCAM exists. They would know a lot about African-American experiences across the state. There is a museum in the Leavenworth area who could speak to the specific museum, the experience of Black people in America, in Leavenworth area. There's Nicodemus. There's all these different, places. So if you know someone who might, or someone like Donna Ray Pearson, who's on the Historical Society. I mean, I've run across a lot of people who I'm trying to at least get interested in this commission, so that much like we have Ms. Regina Miller here today, even if the person is not fully appointed to the commission, they can attend the meetings, because those meetings are also open to the public, and say, hey, I know about such and such, or hey, I know that there's this little wide spot in the road, but there's a historical marker, or hey, because I don't know all the Black people in the state, but to try to get as many Black people and many diverse voices involved in this commission, or to have eyes on it, just to make sure that our stories are told. So those meetings generally take place on the third Wednesday. It's been a little off because of the legislative session, because there are quite a number of legislators on this commission. And with the legislative session, sometimes they've been very busy. Now that we're more or less done with the legislative session, I imagine that those meetings will be more steady, more regular. And so I am looking for either someone who, because I'm flat trying to find a Black historian who just wants to be on it, right? Like someone like Sherry Camp, or someone like John Ella Holmes out in Nicodemus, or someone, So I talked to Denise Sherman. I'm like, someone like Denise Sherman, to just say, hey, do you just want to be on this commission? I will keep the seat on the commission, but if there's anyone who wants to come to the meetings, hey, what are they talking about? What things are going on across the state of Kansas in terms of the semi-quintennial, the 250th. So that's one opportunity I want to talk to you about. And then also we're in the planning of the summer brunch series that we did last year as well. And right now we're planning on going to Wichita, all the same places we went to last year. So Wichita, Topeka, Lawrence, although we will be in Johnson County. Last year we were in Wyandotte County. This will be in Johnson County. And then instead of Manhattan, we're going to go to Junction City. So I have been very busy finding, as much as possible, I'm trying to find Black caterers, Black venues. And in most of the places I've managed to find either a Black venue or a Black-owned venue or a Black caterer. So I feel good about that. But dates are not set, but I wanted to make sure that the commission knew about that, because I would like to, as per, I've always said, I would like to make sure that the commissioners are involved with whatever's going on in that city. As with all things, if you are in Wyandotte County, I'm not going to ask you to drive to Junction City to attend the Junction City one. You could attend the one that's closest to your home. Your attendance is never going to be required, but would love to have you, even if it's there to talk about the commission or to talk about if there's something in that area that is important to the commission. So I would love to involve commissioners more in the brunch series. Those dates are not set. And so I just wanted to make you aware that those things are happening. So that's my full report.
Any questions? This is the chair. Any questions for the executive director? Now on to old business. Executive Director Nell, do you want to talk about plans to narrow the focus of the commission for this year?
Yes, and mainly because we talked about that this is Director Nell, we talked about that last meeting, and then Commissioner Davis did send out a proposal, which I forwarded to everyone. And oh, Commissioner Johnson, because you're new to this discussion, we are having the discussion of, so what are we going to do this year? Is it going to be that the commission does one thing? Or is it that each individual commissioner can do whatever they want to do, right? For example, you're all in different congressional districts. So what does that actually look like? And then if I was smart, I would have had Commissioner Davis's proposal pulled up. But she did send a proposal with ideas. So, and that's just one idea. I'm not saying yay, nay, we have to do it or don't do it. That's just the discussion point. And I don't know with 20 minutes left if we're gonna necessarily.
Well, as the
finish
chair,
it.
I'd recommend that everybody devote some time to thinking about this and arrive at the next meeting prepared to discuss.
Okay. Especially since we do have at least Commissioner Crystal Davis's suggested proposal out there. I see Commissioner Trent Davis has his hand up.
Yeah, Commissioner Trent Davis here. I actually was intrigued by her proposal, although when I listened to some of the comments in this meeting about the report, I realized that some of that could be just put in ongoing dashboard fashion. And, you know, like if you wanted I'm make up something, medium income of Black households in Kansas, we could have running dashboards on our website 24/7 the whole year. But some of the issues there are, you know, kind of summary statements. You know, what has our purchasing power done in the last year? Numbers of new Black businesses. Gathering the information. I know the Census Department keeps track of a lot of that anyway, but it's like, you know, searching something. If you don't ask the right question, you don't get the information you're looking for. And Census, you know, Bureau says they have folks who will help. I'm sure they'd help an organization like us to find the information we're looking for. But it should be something somewhat more personalized. But I think it's a great idea, and not to do it just once a year. I mean, once you get something like this started, it should be self-perpetuating. And that type of a statement of where Black Kansas is, I envision as being part of our annual report to the governor, because certainly from that, we have a basis to, you know, make inclusions into the budget or get certain programs funded. But it gives us the data. But it'll be somewhat labor intensive that first year. I mean, once you do it, then you can get it set up so that stuff gets automatically fed in. And you note I did not volunteer to come help you, Stacy, to sit in your office and do all that data collection. But I'm sure there are university students who are well equipped to help in that regard.
Well, this is the chair. The one thing that did occur to me, and you know, like our executive director, I'm getting concerned about our time boundary. But one of the things that occurred to me was that our annual report ought to resemble, in some sense, a SWOT analysis, where we're talking about what's internal, what's external, with whom we're competing, and where are the threats coming from to the African American community in Kansas. I think if that might be a good way to organize it moving forward. Again, this is the chair. Would you like to talk about the potential meeting with the governor?
Yes, this is director. So much like we've said, if this commission is advisory to the governor, to try and get a meeting with the governor. Now, I know how to get a meeting with the governor, but of course, if we're going to request a meeting with the governor, we should know what we're going to talk about. So I just want to throw that out there, because as per the bylaws, one of the things that the executive director at least should try to do is to make sure that the commission does have contact with the governor. But having met with the governor, you don't just walk in and go, "Hi, what's up?" You have to know what you're there to talk about. So we do not have a meeting with governor on the books. there's not one planned, but I wanted to put that in front of you, that I know that that's something that I am more than willing and active and ready to try to do, but to just to have, and it doesn't have to be even soon. It could be, because let me report that I have reserved a room, the Lieutenant Governor's conference room, for our August 1st meeting. That has been reserved. I know that CAC used to meet when they met in person. That's one of the places that they used to meet. So we do have the space reserved for August 1st. And so it would be quite, it would make sense if everyone's already coming into town on August 1st to have that in-person meeting, that I would arrange for that day to meet with the governor. Hopefully if she's in town, that would be a day that we could arrange to meet with the governor, so that our meeting would be to meet with the governor. So yes, I see that Dr. New has her hand up.
Okay, I apologize. My computer was slow to unmute. So this is Commissioner New. I just wondered, with the DEI cleansing efforts that appear to be coming from the federal level, and since CAC, I'm assuming, may receive some federal funding, have we heard? We do not. So what comes through the state for CAC is coming directly from the state. Okay, well, thank you for answering that, because I just wondered if we may have concerns about how the organization would continue to function. So thank you.
This is Director, I almost said Director New. This is Director Nell. The CAC, the external commissions are all subsumed underneath the governor's office budget. So it is not, we are not federally funded. We don't receive any federal money.
This is the chair. You want to move on to new business and announcements?
Yes. So our new business, ask for commissioners to provide resources or information to help the CAC website. So again, our website, y'all, I'm kind of proud of this website. I don't know if many of you have taken a lot of time to look at the website. This website was a long time coming, and to get everything up and running. And it kind of goes to, okay, here we go. We have the state of Black Kansas, but then there's a resources tab as well. And I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, but I don't know if someone's in Salina and they need help with XYZ. I don't know. So I thought, okay, this is one way where commissioners can help me out in your respective districts. I will tell you that if any constituent, I have not gotten a lot of calls from constituents, but if any constituent calls me to ask for help, I can almost guarantee that I can't help them, because I am not a lawyer, right? People often, if they're calling me because of a legal question. And I'm not a lawyer. And so that's why even one of the main things I put on here is that CAC cannot offer legal advice or help in that way, right? We are not lawyers. We cannot provide legal assistance, but there are some resources. So I think that would be something, if you in your community know this organization provides help for a lot of people are having housing issues, or they feel they're having job discrimination issues, or they feel like they're having legal issues with a judge or a lawyer. But all of them, usually they're like to the point of they want to get involved with something legally. And I'm like, I am not a lawyer. I'm not even going to sit here and try to give you advice, because that would just be ridiculously wrong of me to do. However, perhaps that's where you guys come in. So I have, there is a human rights resources, the housing discrimination, how to file a complaint, and the Kansas Legal Services. But then I was thinking there might be more local C3s, local organizations that take pro bono work, local, churches who have resources. And so I thought, okay, I will ask the commission. So this is not something that you would have to tell me right now. That's something that we could continue to gather as we move forward throughout the year. But that's something that I thought, gosh, maybe I can ask the commission to help flesh that out. What other? Yeah, the other new business item was Dr. Crystal Davis's proposal. So what do you guys think about this notion of helping to flesh out the resources? If you are aware of resources in your individual communities that might be helpful for people who are in need.
This is the chair. I would point out that if individuals have a legal case that is high impact, meaning class action status, you could do well to reach out to the ACLU, or you could reach out to Kansas Appleseed. Each of those organizations have that as their focus. Again, having worked there, I know that they get dozens and dozens of calls a day, and a lot of those came to me. But again, if you're talking about high impact legal action, high impact meaning a broad number of people focused on a civil rights or civil liberties issue that impacts a lot of people, those two organizations would be good to add.
Yes, this is
Mhm.
Director Nell. I've often referred people to those two too, but I was thinking more of, you may know in your community that there's a lawyer who does pro bono work, right? You may know in your community that you may know in your community a clinic that operates, right? You in your community may have resources that where I sit in this position, I know about the ACLUs and the Kansas Human Rights Commission and all. Like I can glean the statewide things, but this notion of, I know nothing about what goes on the ground in Salina. Right? I just don't. And I know a bit about Wichita, and I grew up in KCK. But for example, especially when it comes down to pro bono lawyers, I was like, I know a lot of communities have people who will do stuff pro bono. So without me sending someone to ACLU who I know gets 25 phone calls a day, that maybe if you guys know those individual people who are best suited in the communities to help, that might be a resource that could go on the website. If you're in the Salina area, if you're in the KCK area, if you're in the Wichita area, if you're in the Leavenworth area, that just, again, this notion of a central location where, and I think the website is the way to go, because it's easier for me to update a website or link out to websites than to, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous. I love it. It's pretty, it's thick, and not useful beyond 2017. So if we can get stuff that we can get digital, I think that would provide a little more longevity. This is not something that needs to be solved today, but as you think about it, maybe if you have those resources, does that even sound feasible? I see Dr. Trent Davis's hand.
Yeah,
This is
Commissioner Davis, we actually have that written in Salina, with social assistance organizations, I mean, all that type stuff. It was split among 3 different places. I think we have a uniform list now, and it should be easy to, for I think the United Way may be the official holder of the role right now, but and I'm sure other communities have similar things. The more focused you get for social issues that specifically affect us, then other organizations may have more references. But it's a great way and a good way for us to build our contact list as well.
No, even you saying the United Way, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about the United Way. So this is one of these, this is the way I would like the commission to start to function. 7 heads are better than 1, right? And so if I'm thinking, hey, how do we get resources to the community? And you're like, well, the United Way. I'm like, oh, I didn't think of the United Way. Like, I know ACLU, right? But yes. So I've made the note, because I can link to United Way. And if you say that it's that the resources in Salina are they on a website in Salina? Because I can link to Salina.
Yeah, that I don't want to guarantee. They are somewhere, but I couldn't tell you who's.
Okay.
This is the
Right.
chair. I'd like to point out one thing and then get us to our discussion about the need for elections. But part of the reason that there are so few lawyers that take on civil rights cases is that our court system here, I'm told by those lawyers, has a tendency not to believe that the civil rights issues exist in the society to the degree that they do. And I've known many, many lawyers who left Wichita and left the state because it was so hard to get these cases filed and heard fairly in the courts. I just wanted to just put that out there. The dearth of lawyers taking these cases is really a function of not being able to win those cases or to have those cases heard fairly in our courts.
This is Director Null. That may be the case, but if you still know them, I can still list them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like I said, if it can, I probably in the time that I've had this job have had fewer than 20 people actually call this office. A good handful of them were asking for Juneteenth as a state holiday, so woot woot. But generally speaking, if anyone else is calling me, I already know I'm not gonna be able to help them because usually they're calling me with a legal question. So even if it's, I can at least refer you out to a lawyer, right? Because then the lawyer can tell the person what you just said. It's not me telling the person what you just said. And I'd rather leave it up to the lawyer to say yay or nay, I'll take that case. And here's why or why not. But to just have the resources to be able to point people in a reasonable direction would be helpful. Yes, Dr. Davis, do you still have a question? Your hand is still up. Okay. Mindful of the time, we do need to hold elections at the May meeting as per the statute. And as I probably will put this maybe in every single agenda that I send out, is that there still is that recording for how to get compensated for travel. Although I don't really imagine anyone traveling until August, unless you travel for the brunch. But hopefully, again, I'm not going to ask you to travel more than 30 miles for any given brunch, unless you decide to travel for a brunch. So that's it for me. Woohoo! Got through it in an hour.
This is the chair again. Unless there's one more question, I would entertain a motion to conclude the meeting.
Any questions, thoughts, ideas? Oh, our guest, Miss Regina Miller.
Can you hear me? Thank you for the work you guys do. Thank you so much for letting me join your meeting today, and blessings to all of you. Just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Do we have a motion from the floor? We have a motion on the
One
floor.
quick, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
For the election, I was trying to pull the bylaws up real quick. Do we have to make nominations before that meeting, or we can do everything from beginning to end at the one meeting?
I don't remember anything. This is Director Null. I don't remember anything about making nominations ahead of the meeting.
Okay. All right. In that case, move to adjourn.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All signify, please, by saying aye or
Aye.
raise your hand. The ayes have it. Thank you for a great meeting today. We'll see you next month.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.